Welcome back, music lovers. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Today we're time traveling, using the Grammys as our sonic guide.
Love that sonic guide.
We're comparing two Grammy years, a decade apart, 2013 and 2023.
Should be fascinating to see how the music scene and the industry itself have shifted, right?
Exactly. I'm curious about those shifts, like how much has popular taste changed?
Or what new genres have risen to prominence?
Or, maybe what's stayed surprisingly the same.
Oh yeah, there's always those, wait, they never won a Grammy for that moments.
Okay, so to map this out, we'll start by breaking down each year. Categories, nominees, winners.
And then we'll do a cross comparison, look for trends, interesting artist journeys across that decade.
Sounds like a plan. Let's jump into 2023.
All right, 2023 Grammys. Hit me with the big category.
But we had the classics, of course.
Yeah.
Album of the year, record of the year, song of the year.
The big three. But even those felt different that year, didn't they?
They did. Why do you think that is?
Well, 2023 was the year Beyoncé broke the record. Most awarded artist ever with a whopping 32 wins.
Incredible. And that win for Best Dance Electronic Music Album for Renaissance.
That was huge, not just for her. It showed how that genre had really infiltrated the mainstream.
Yeah, it's interesting how in 2013 electronic music was still kind of niche, right?
Very much so. But by 2023, Grammy Gold. Makes you think maybe streaming's a factor.
Makes sense. Wider exposure thanks to easier access. And that influences what gets awarded, too.
Absolutely. Popularity plays a role for sure.
So we've got Beyoncé's landmark win. Who else snagged those top prizes in 2023?
Okay, so for Album of the Year, it was Harry Styles, Harry's House.
A bit of surprise for some
It
folks.
was a very close race. Lots of buzz around that category.
I remember that. Who won record of the year? Any upsets there?
Lizzo, with About Damn Time.
Oh, yeah, that was an anthem. I can still hear it everywhere.
It wasn't just catchy, it really captured a mood,
Definitely. Defiant joy, I'd call it. What about Song of the Year? Another high-energy hit.
This one was different. Bonnie Raitt for Just Like That.
Beautiful song.
Yeah.
And her first win in that category.
After decades in the industry, proof that great songwriting can break through at any time.
A perfect example of the Grammys balancing those legacy artists with the fresh new sounds.
Yeah, it's always a mix. Speaking of which, let's rewind to 2013. Feels like a different world, musically.
Completely. It was the year of, what was it? The folk revival.
You got it. Remember Ho by the Lumineers? It was everywhere.
I can't believe I forgot about that song. Total earworm.
So who were the 2013 Grammy giants?
For Album of the Year, it was Mumford & Sons with Babel.
Right in that folk wave all the way to the top.
Huge win for them. Okay, record of the year. This one's interesting. It didn't go to a folk band, did it?
Nope. Goaty featuring Kimbra for Somebody That I Used to Know.
Another song that was inescapable. That melancholic, catchy vibe.
It was a monster hit. Song of the Year. Was it more folk?
I'm guessing not.
You're right. It went to Fun, featuring Janelle Monáe for We Are Young.
Oh, yeah. Pure youthful energy. A total anthem for its time.
So we've got 2 years, both with anthemic songs winning Song of the Year.
But very different vibes. We Are Young felt almost like naively optimistic.
While About Damn Time had an edge. Like, we've been through some things, but we're stronger.
Reflecting the world musically. Like a soundtrack to each year. Do you see any other echoes?
Both years featured that mix. Well-established artists alongside newer voices breaking through.
Like a snapshot of where the music scene was at that moment.
Exactly. Think Bonnie Raitt's win in 2023 versus someone like Lizzo, relatively newer.
And 2013, you had Fun, a band with a history, alongside Goaty, who was more of a newcomer.
It's like the Grammys are trying to represent the full spectrum,
Makes sense. I'm curious, were any 2023 nominees also in the running back in 2013?
Good question. Well, Beyoncé was definitely nominated both years, though, in different categories.
Of course, she's a mainstay.
Right. So in 2013, she was up for, several awards for Love on Top, including Song of the Year.
You can practically trace her evolution, from pop hits to those genre-bending masterpieces.
It's remarkable. And she's not the only one with a multi-year Grammy history. If we look beyond the main categories.
What do we see?
Interesting connections, like Jack Antonoff.
Oh, he's that.
No,
super producer, right?
He's more than that. Back in 2013, he was producing for both Taylor Swift and Lorde.
Wow, impressive.
And then fast forward to 2023, he's working with Harry Styles and Lana Del Rey.
He really has a Midas touch.
He's shaping the sound of pop music, for sure.
A good reminder that it's not just about the artists we see on stage. Those producers are essential.
Absolutely. They're like the architects of the sound.
Speaking of sonic shifts, How did the overall music landscape change between these 2 years? Big trends.
One thing that really stands out is the rise of streaming and its impact on, well, everything.
We talked about Beyoncé's win. Electronic music probably wouldn't have been as big a decade earlier.
Exactly. Streaming opens doors, lets people discover those niche sounds, and then those sounds blow up.
The barriers are lower. Suddenly you've got all these different genres competing for attention. Did that change how the Grammys themselves were structured?
Oh, definitely. They're constantly adapting. In 2023, they added categories like Best Musica Urbana Album.
And Best Global Music Performance. Makes sense with how much bigger the world of music has gotten.
Recognizing that increasing global reach, it's a good thing.
It is. Shows they're trying to stay relevant. So we've got streaming, changes in the game, Grammys adapting, and these artists navigating it all. What other shifts stand out?
Something that's fascinating is how hip-hop's presence at the Grammys has evolved.
Okay, tell me more.
Back in 2013, there was a lot of talk, a lot of controversy around Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
I remember that. They won Best Rap Album over Kendrick Lamar.
Right, and many saw Kendrick as the frontrunner. It sparked a conversation.
It was about more than just music. Race, commercial success, how different voices within hip-hop are recognized.
Big issues. And then in 2023, Kendrick's nominated for Album of the Year with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
A real shift in recognition. Shows how the conversation around hip-hop has changed.
And how the Grammys, while not always perfect, can reflect those broader cultural conversations.
It's about what those awards represent, not just who wins. Powerful stuff.
Powerful indeed. They're part of a larger dialogue about art, representation, what music means to us.
Okay, so we've seen how streaming has impacted things, hip-hop's changing presence. Are there any artists whose Grammy journeys were drastically different between those 2 years?
Oh, there's some fascinating cases. Taylor Swift is a prime example.
Oh, Taylor. She's gone through so many musical transformations, right?
She has. In 2013, she was mainly seen as a country artist, nominated for Red in the country categories.
That was before she fully crossed over to pop, right?
Exactly. She was still very much the girl next door storytelling songwriter.
And then, boom, by 2023.
Global pop icon, nominated for Album of the Year with 1989. Even experimenting with alternative sounds on Cardigan.
She's a chameleon. It's amazing how she keeps that massive fan base while shifting her sound so much.
She's got a knack for it, reinventing herself but not alienating her core audience.
It's like a magic formula. Speaking of transformations, what about the visual side of music? Music videos.
Oh, music videos are even more important now. Not just promotional tools, they're artistic statements.
They create a whole visual world around the music.
Yeah.
Did that shift show up in the Grammys?
Yes. You can see it in the Best Music Video category.
Okay, how so?
In 2013, the winner was Same Love by Macklemore and Ryan Lewis featuring Mary Lambert, a very powerful video.
I remember that one. It was about social commentary, right?
Absolutely. Tackling marriage equality, a big issue at the time.
And the 2023 winner.
Taylor Swift's All Too Well, the short film, completely different approach.
More personal, right?
Yeah, like a mini movie exploring heartbreak, memory, all through those incredible visuals.
So even in music videos, we see this shift from broad social messages to more personal narratives.
Interesting observation. I think it reflects a larger cultural trend towards introspection, vulnerability.
Sharing personal experiences through art. That makes sense.
We're all craving that authenticity in a world that can feel superficial.
Music can provide that, especially when it feels raw, real. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive.
We have, from the winners to the nominees to how the industry itself has changed.
It's amazing how much the Grammys can reveal about a particular moment in time.
It's more than just awards, it's a snapshot of the culture.
But before we move on, there's one more aspect I want to touch on, the business side of music.
Yes. The Grammys are about more than just artistic merit. Commercial success matters, too.
And the business has changed so much in the past decade.
You're not wrong. Think about how we consume music, how we pay for it. It's all different now.
Back in 2013, downloading albums was still a thing. iTunes was king.
It was the era of meticulously crafted playlists.
Hours spent browsing the iTunes store. But by 2023,
streaming had taken over. Spotify, Apple Music, the whole landscape had changed.
How did that shift affect the Grammy nominees? How they make music, connect with their fans?
Well, it changed how they had to think about releasing and promoting their music.
Instead of focusing on album releases, They had to create singles that would work on playlists.
Right. It's like the unit of attention shifted.
And social media became essential, building a following, getting their music heard in a crowded online world.
The whole definition of what it means to be a successful musician changed.
Not just about selling albums anymore.
It's about branding, persona, constant fan engagement. The game changed.
Wow, it really did. And it keeps evolving as new technologies emerge.
It's a dynamic landscape. Artists have to be adaptable to survive, let alone thrive.
So much to think about. We've covered everything from iconic winners to streaming, hip-hop, the business side of music.
It's amazing what you can learn from just comparing 2 Grammy years.
I already feel like I understand 2013 and 2023 so much better, musically speaking.
It's not just about the awards, it's about the story they tell about us, our tastes, values, how we relate to music.
And this is just the beginning. Stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive where we'll explore.
Back for more Grammy time travel. Ready to dig deeper.
Absolutely. Last time we set the stage, comparing 2013 and 2023. Now I want to zoom in on some individual artists.
Like we're tracing their musical DNA through these awards.
Exactly. It'll be fascinating to see how they've evolved, experimented.
Maybe even completely reinvented themselves over that decade. Where should we start?
Well, we can't talk Grammy evolution without mentioning Beyoncé, right?
Queen Bey. She's practically royalty at this point.
How has her Grammy story unfolded across this 10-year span?
Her journey is a masterclass, honestly. Artistry, innovation, breaking records left and right.
In 2013, she was already a superstar, up for several awards with Love on Top.
But even then, her sound was still developing.
I remember that song. Pure pop perfection. But Renaissance, her 2023 album, that felt like a whole other level.
Right. It's what's so fascinating about her. She could have easily stayed in that pop lane.
But instead,
she dives headfirst into dance and electronic, becomes the most awarded artist in Grammy history.
Always pushing boundaries, never settling. So inspiring. Okay, so we've got Beyoncé's evolution. Who else had an interesting Grammy journey between these 2 years?
Remember how we talked about Taylor Swift's genre hopping?
Oh, absolutely. Country to pop and everything in between.
Her Grammy story really highlights that shift. In 2013, nominated for Red, leaning heavily into those country roots.
Showcasing those songwriting chops, the storytelling she's known for.
And by 2023, full-blown pop phenomenon, nominated for Album of the Year with 1989.
Talk about a transformation.
And she won Album of the Year 3 times across that decade, connecting with audiences across genres, generations.
It's like she has a sixth sense for what people want to hear. And she's not afraid to experiment. Like with Cardigan, that collab with The National, even earned her a Grammy nod.
That fearlessness is key. Always evolving, taking risks, keeps things fresh, shows you don't have to stay in one lane to find success.
Exactly. So we've got those artists who were already on the Grammy radar back in 2013, but who rose to prominence later. Anyone come to mind?
Lizzo's a perfect example. In 2013, she wasn't even on the map, Grammy-wise.
But by 2023...
winning Record of the Year for About Damn Time. Talk about a glow-up.
That song was a cultural moment, for sure. It was everywhere. Such a celebration of self-love, empowerment.
And it showcased her range. Singer, rapper, even a flautist.
Don't forget the flute. Blending all those influences. A true original.
Breaking barriers, inspiring people to embrace their individuality. Her Grammy wins really speak to that.
The power of authenticity, self-expression. Shows there's room for all kinds of voices.
And the industry is always evolving, new voices emerging all the time. Speaking of which, we can't forget Billie Eilish.
Oh, wow. She wasn't even born when some of those 2013 nominees were winning Grammys.
Right. She's a whole new generation, artist who grew up in the digital age, and by 2023, she'd already won 7 Grammys.
Including Album of the Year, twice. That's incredible.
Her music is so different, dark, atmospheric, those genre-bending elements.
Reflects a certain anxiety, maybe? The complexities of growing up online?
Definitely a voice for her generation. And it's interesting, her success shows that the Grammys can recognize those boundary-pushing artists.
Even though they get criticized sometimes for being out of touch.
They can be a platform for those important voices, showcase how music's evolving. It's not just a popularity contest.
So much more than that. Okay, let's take one last trip back to 2013. Who were some of the big winners that year?
We talked about Mumford & Sons winning Album of the Year for Babel. The peak of that folk revival.
Oh, hey, it was everywhere. Did they keep going down that folk path?
Actually, they branched out, experimented with more electronic sounds, even collaborated with some pop artists.
Wow, really? So they weren't content to just stick with what worked?
They wanted to evolve, find new ways to express themselves.
That's cool. What about Goaty? He was huge in 2013 with Somebody That I Used to Know.
That song was a global phenomenon. Catchy melody, relatable heartbreak, it had it all.
Did he manage to maintain that level of success?
He's still making music, but he hasn't quite reached those same heights again.
Sometimes lightning strikes once. Not every artist needs to be a chart topper to have a meaningful career, right?
Exactly. And sometimes those one-hit wonders have the most lasting impact. Capture a feeling, a moment in time.
You still hear that song and instantly remember where you were, what you were doing.
It's a reminder that success comes in many forms. Not everyone needs a shelf full of Grammys to make their mark.
This deep dive has been so insightful. Seeing these artists rise, fall, reinvent themselves. It's a wild ride, this music industry.
It really is, full of surprises, unexpected twists and turns.
But what I find inspiring is the creativity, the resilience of these artists. They pour their hearts into their music.
Whether they win awards or not, it's a testament to the power of human expression.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm wondering, how will these artists continue to evolve?
What new sounds will they explore? What legacy will they leave behind?
Such great questions. I bet our listeners are thinking about those too. But before we get lost in the future, are there any albums from both 2013 and 2023 you think our listeners should check out?
Ooh, I love sharing those hidden gems. From 2013, I recommend The Hands You Hold by Over the Rhine.
Never heard of it. Tell me more.
Beautiful album, soulful vocals, introspective lyrics, perfect for a quiet evening, maybe with a cup of tea.
Sounds lovely. And for 2023, what hidden gem are you going to unveil?
Let's go with Wet Leg by Wet Leg.
Okay, that's a no one for me.
Bit more experimental, spoken word vocals, post-punk guitars. Not for everyone, but if you're looking for something unique.
Thought-provoking. I like it. Adding both of those to my list right now. I was going to expand those musical horizons. And I'm sure our listeners are eager to hear what you have in store for the final part of our Grammy deep dive.
Plenty more to uncover. We'll explore the evolution of music over this decade and what it might mean for the future.
What trends will emerge, what new technologies will revolutionize things, and most importantly,
what incredible music will be created.
The future of music is a vast, exciting landscape. Can't wait to explore it with you and our listeners.
Join us next time as we wrap up our Grammy time travel adventure and venture into those uncharted territories of music yet to come.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've been on quite a sonic adventure, haven't we?
We have a decade of music comparing the Grammy Awards of 2013 and 2023.
We've seen the industry transform, genres evolve, how individual artists have navigated those changes.
From iconic wins to those streaming shakeups, the changing face of hip-hop, we've covered a lot of ground.
But now, in this final part of our deep dive, we're going to shift gears a bit.
Looking to the future.
Exactly. Time to put on our prognosticator hats, I guess.
Love it.
See if we can anticipate what might shape the next decade of music.
The million-dollar question. What new voices will we hear? What technologies will change everything?
What will the Grammys even look like in another 10 years?
Predicting the future of music. It's a tricky business, but based on the trends we've talked about, I think we can make some educated guesses.
Okay, so let's start with those trends. Streaming has been a game changer, right?
It's democratized music, led to those niche genres blowing up, global collaborations.
Do you think that'll continue? Or are we headed for another seismic shift in how we consume music?
Streaming has fundamentally changed how we discover and listen, made music more accessible than ever. I think that's here to stay.
So, more diversity, more experimentation. Will genres keep blurring? Or will we see a resurgence of those traditional sounds?
I think we'll see a bit of both.
Yeah.
Genre lines will probably keep getting blurrier, artists pulling inspiration from everywhere.
Maybe even brand new genres we can't even imagine yet.
That's the exciting part. We don't know.
It is exciting. What about technology's role? We talked about music videos evolving, those mini movies.
Creating those visual worlds.
What's next? Are we all going to be attending virtual concerts in the metaverse?
VR and AR are definitely starting to impact the music experience. Imagine a concert where you're on stage with the band.
Or a holographic performance right in your living room.
The concert experience redefined. No crowds, no expensive tickets.
You could be front row at any show, anywhere in the world.
And as these technologies get more affordable, they'll have a huge impact.
Yeah.
On how music's created, performed, everything.
We're really on the edge of something new, aren't we?
It's an exciting time. But speaking of technology, we can't forget about AI.
Right. Algorithms composing hit songs, producing albums. Is that where we're headed?
AI is already being used in music, generating melodies, mastering tracks. The big question is, how will human creativity fit in?
Will AI be a collaborator, a competitor, something else entirely?
We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be fascinating, that's for sure. Okay, let's shift from the tech stuff to the artists themselves.
We've talked about the big names: Beyoncé, Taylor Swift, Lizzo, Billie Eilish. Who else might dominate the next decade?
Who's going to be the next Grammy giant? Tough question. So much talent out there.
Anyone you're keeping an eye on? Any rising stars showing those signs of future Grammy domination?
Keep an eye on Steve Lacy, Doechii, Wet Leg. They're all pushing boundaries, making music that's innovative and super personal.
Innovative and personal. I like the sound of that. What is it about them that makes you think they have that Grammy potential?
They're fearless, experimental. They're themselves, unapologetically. They take risks, blend genres, challenge everything.
And their music feels authentic.
That's what connects with people. In a world that can feel so fake, people crave that realness.
And music has that power to connect us, to speak to those deeper parts of ourselves.
It's a universal language. It transcends boundaries, speaks to our shared human experience.
So as we look ahead to the future of music, what should we be doing?
Embrace the unknown, the unexpected.
Be open to new voices, new genres, new ways of experiencing it all.
The future of music isn't something to be predicted, it's something to be created.
I love that. This whole episode has been such a fascinating journey. Thanks for being my guide, sharing your expertise.
It's been a blast. Always fun to geek out about music with someone who gets it.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this sonic adventure.
We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into the Grammys and the ever-changing world of music.
Remember, music is a journey, not a destination. So keep exploring, keep discovering, keep those ears open to the symphony of sounds out there.
And until next time, may your playlists be full of fresh finds and your hearts full of the joy of music.